but we continue to have ranked choice, and it confuses the heck out of people. And it did have the effect of electing Jared Golden to Congressional District 2 here in Maine in 2018 when it was first implemented. That, of course, was the first election it was used in, and we saw the effect. Can you speak to, I'm sure you're well versed in that, but let's talk about that election a little bit and what that looked like. And in my view, it had the very real effect of stealing that election and putting into place someone who was not elected one person, one vote.
Yeah, that was a really telling example of just what goes on with ranked choice voting in terms of rubber meets the road political realities, right? Because ranked choice voting is sold to the electorate, and this was part of the campaign in Maine too. This
Mm-hmm.
is about making sure that voters have more choices, that results are going to be more, reflective of the broader community, and there's usually a vein of, kind of anti-political establishment, anti-two-party
Mm.
system that goes into that as well. In actuality, what it tends to do is push politics to the left. And that's why you see the loudest voices are folks on the left. All of the money pushing this is coming from, liberal mega donors and so forth. And in the
Mm-hmm.
race that you mentioned, you saw this actually play out. You saw a sitting congressman, a Republican, Bruce Poliquin, who got more votes in the first round than his opponents. And yet, when they began the process of redistributing the votes, right, the left always loves redistribution,
Right.
and they figured out a way to apply that in electoral politics too, then he wound up losing. And he came back and tried to win his seat again 2 years
Mm-hmm.
later and was defeated a second time with ranked choice
Mm-hmm.
voting. So you had this situation where more people voted for him, but then when they came in and they did the second round of vote counting, he was defeated. And we saw a similar thing in Alaska too that we can talk a little bit about as well, because that's another one of these glaring examples of just what ranked choice voting is really all about.
Yeah, I mean, it it uh, it manipulates the results and changes them, frankly, because as you pointed out, Bruce Poliquin got more of the votes. And if that first round were, as it has historically been since the origins of our country, uh, the only vote, then Bruce Poliquin would have been our representative to Congress in 2018. But because of the use of ranked choice voting and because of using folks' second choice and all of that, we have now had Jared Golden in office ever since. And so tell us a little bit about Alaska and what went on there. What can we learn from other states that are also doing it badly?
Well, Alaska had an even more convoluted system imposed on them. So they also
Oh
passed this
gosh.
at the ballot. I know it's hard to believe, but they passed this at the ballot in 2020. And if you can believe it, it narrowly passed by about half a point. That was the
Wow.
margin. And it passed riding on the coattails of an anti-dark money measure. So Alaskans
Ah.
thought they were voting to get dark money out of Alaska politics. Ironically enough, a massive amount of dark money was coming in to push an
Of
anti-dark money
course.
measure that was really about this, kind of ranked choice voting election system and bringing that to Alaska. So the first time that they roll this system out, you have a three-way race. It was supposed to be a four-way race, but it wound up being a three-way race. And you had 60% of the state vote for the two Republican candidates in the election, and the Democrat, Mary Peltola, wound up claiming victory and claiming a majority. It's a phony majority with ranked choice voting in most of these cases. But you had 60%
Wow.
voting for the two Republicans, and a
So the two
Democrat still got
Republicans split
elected.
the vote,
Hmm.
and so then second using the second choice, the
That's right,
Democrat won.
exactly. Yeah, and the
Wow.
reason I said it was even more complicated is because they ran a system called Final Four. And the idea here is that you get rid of party primaries. So you have a single California style jungle primary that everyone running for a particular office runs in. You vote for one person in the primary, and then the top four vote getters advance to the general election.
Wow.
And that's how you can have multiple Republicans on the ballot splitting each other's
Okay.
votes, and then the Democrat can slide right on in.
Oh gosh. So question for you then. Okay, so we've got this like jungle primary. and a whole bunch of people run. How many Democrats ran? Was there only one? Did they kind of self-select and then, or were there
Well,
multiple?
there were some interesting quirks. There were supposed to be, as I said, there were supposed to be four folks in that race, but one of
Hmm.
them ended up dropping out and never got replaced on the ballot. So that immediately winnowed the field down to two Republicans and a Democrat.
Wow.
In total, in the primary, if memory serves, there were about 4 dozen candidates in that congressional special election that were running in the primary. 4 dozen. So you see the list, and it was extraordinary. You're trying to pick out the name of your one vote in the
Mm,
primary, and then you get the top four system, and that
wow.
is essentially what they were trying to push all over the place. They changed the system to what they call Final Five, same idea, jungle primaries, and then the top five vote getters, and that's what they were pushing in a lot of states in
Mm.
2024. And I think it just left a lot of voters scratching their head, wondering what problem is this really trying to fix.
That's kind of that type of primary is kind of the next step after what Maine has done. Maine now has open primaries, and that sounds like kind of like the next step on the progressive wish list would be for these just absolutely open jungle primaries where everybody's on the same ballot. Am I wrong on that?
No, I think that that's 100% right. I think that right now, a lot of the energy nationwide in the ranked choice voting space has evaporated. So we're seeing fewer
Mm.
campaigns for ranked choice voting. The
What
threat
else
is
can we
still
do?
there. But yes, they're looking for new
What can we
places to
try?
put their money, and we're
Yeah.
seeing, the beginnings of top two or jungle style primaries in places like Oklahoma and
Really?
Arizona. I think yes, I think there's going to be a
Mm.
lot of that we see in the next few cycles. The left is always looking for ways to change the process of running an
Hmm.
election in ways that are designed to build in systemic advantage. And they're very good, as
Yes.
you know, at running campaigns to persuade
Mhm.
people to their way of thinking, right? So that's how you can get a
Oh, it
measure in
sounds
Michigan.
so good.
Oh, exactly. I mean, and they're
Yeah.
so good. They're so good at it. They convinced folks in Michigan that they were voting on a ballot measure a few years back to enshrine voter ID in the state constitution. And what they were actually doing was gutting voter ID. And when I
Oh,
pointed that out to the media, I got fact checked, not the folks running the
wow.
campaign. So they are very good at this, and I think that they're going to play on suspicions that voters harbor for the political parties and
Hmm.
say this is why we need to move towards this jungle style system, or why we eventually 10 years from now need to move back towards ranked choice voting. People will forget that
Hmm.
we just rejected this. They're always looking for
Let
those
people
sorts of
forget.
ads.
Give
Exactly.
a little time. Let people forget that they've rejected ranked choice voting, except Maine and Alaska. Now, Alaska did come really close to repealing it, didn't they? Recently?
They did, and that was an extraordinary thing. There was a massive, more than $12 million campaign that was spent in 2024 to defend in Alaska, right? They were going on offense in a bunch of other states, but they were on defense in Alaska. There was a repeal effort. They spent about more than $12 million to save ranked choice voting in
Wow.
Alaska in 2024 against almost nothing. Almost nothing
Yep.
was spent. And the repeal vote failed by just 700 votes. So
Wow.
it took more than $12 million and they almost lost. So this
Hmm.
year there's another active repeal effort. It is in the
Oh,
early
good.
stages, but it's looking good. It looks like there's going to be a really solid second chance at repealing ranked choice voting in Alaska. They've got the governor, they've got the Republican Party there, all in line. And
Good.
it's looking like it's a very well organized effort. So I'm hoping personally, and this is me being a little selfish, that my work fighting ranked choice voting will give me an excuse to get up to Alaska and go visit the state a little bit. But
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance that they'll repeal it this year, which would be an extraordinary rebuke again for the pro
Yes.
RCV folks.